Rudolf Diesel ran his engine on peanut oil. That was 1900. At the World's Fair in Paris, not a prototype, not a concept. A working engine running on peanut oil in front of an international audience. 126 years later, a $4 filter is all that separates your diesel truck from free fuel. And the man who proved it may have died for telling you that. Americans pay $4 to $5 a gallon for diesel. Meanwhile, restaurants across this country throw away 11 billion liters of cooking oil every single year. Oil that burns in the same engines, with nothing more than heat and filtration. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to filter, heat, and run waste cooking oil in a diesel engine, which engines are compatible, what it costs, and why the federal government can fine you $47,357 a day for doing it on a public road. To understand why this is illegal, you have to understand who invented the diesel engine and what happened to him. Welcome. If you're here, you already suspect that some of the most practical knowledge ever developed has been proven, then hidden. That's what this channel documents. Not theory, not opinion. Techniques with historical proof, scientific validation, or both, usually both. If that matters to you, subscribe. You're building a library of crisis-grade skills, and you're going to need it. Let's start where every diesel engine started, with the man whose name is on every one of them. Rudolf Diesel was born in 1858. He spent the years between 1893 and 1897 developing his compression ignition engine. The principle was elegant. Compress air until it reaches 400 to 700 degrees Celsius. Inject fuel. The heat ignites it. No spark plug required. And here's what matters. The fuel he chose for his public demonstration was not petroleum, it was peanut oil. In 1900, at the Paris Exposition Universelle, the French government commissioned a demonstration of Diesel's engine running on peanut oil. It worked. Diesel measured the caloric output himself, 8,600 calories per kilogram. He published the data, he presented it to engineers. He was not hiding anything. 12 years later, in 1912, Diesel stood before the Institution of Mechanical Engineers in London and presented detailed consumption figures, 240 grams per brake horsepower hour on vegetable oil. His words, recorded in the proceedings of that institution, were precise. He told them that vegetable oils may become, in the course of time, as important as petroleum. Think about what he was saying. He was telling the world that farmers could grow their own fuel, that energy independence was not a national project, it was an agricultural one. No pipeline, no refinery, no oil company, just land, seeds, and a press. Diesel had a social vision. He wanted small operators and farmers freed from monopoly fuel suppliers. He published it. He spoke about it publicly. He put the data on record. On September 29, 1913, Rudolf Diesel boarded the SS Dresden, crossing the English Channel to London. He never arrived. His cabin was found empty, the bed undisturbed, his nightshirt laid out but never worn. He had left 20,000 German marks in cash with his wife before departure. His bank accounts were nearly empty. No body was recovered for 10 days. When it was found, identification came from pocket items only. The remains were returned to the sea. No formal investigation followed. The disappearance occurred in international waters. No jurisdiction applied. Contemporary newspaper headlines blamed oil trusts. The Nitsky and Wilson biography documents the full circumstances. Douglas Brunt's 2023 book connects the death to two forces converging on Diesel. Rockefeller's petroleum empire, which needed diesel engines locked to petroleum fuel, and Kaiser Wilhelm's submarine program, which needed Diesel's proprietary engine technology for the coming war. Was it murder? It has never been proven. The official ruling was suicide, but there was no investigation, no jurisdiction, no autopsy. What is proven is that after 1913, the engine kept his name, but the fuel he designed it for was quietly replaced. And every time it resurfaced, it was pushed back under. Now, what we just covered is the surface of one technique in one category. The depth of research behind every topic on this channel goes far deeper than any single video can deliver. We cover forgotten survival knowledge across food preservation, water purification, energy independence, shelter construction, medical preparedness, and communication systems. Every technique has either historical proof, scientific validation, or both, usually both. But right now, let's get to the part that matters. The science of why cooking oil burns in a diesel engine, and the exposed truth about who stopped you from using it. Here's the core chemistry. Vegetable oil is a combustible hydrocarbon chain. Its caloric density is comparable to petroleum diesel. Diesel himself measured it at 8,600 calories per kilogram. The energy content is roughly 9% lower than petroleum diesel. That means slightly reduced range. But the fuel works. The obstacle is viscosity. At room temperature, vegetable oil is 10 to 17 times thicker than petroleum diesel. That thickness prevents proper atomization in the injector. Unatomized fuel means incomplete combustion. Quote, incomplete combustion means carbon deposits on injectors and piston rings. Over time, engine damage. The solution is heat. Raise vegetable oil to 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, roughly 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and its viscosity drops to diesel equivalent levels. That is the entire engineering challenge. Heat the oil before it reaches the injector. This is not theoretical. It has been proven under fire. Literally. During World War II, petroleum supply lines were severed across the globe. Brazil banned cottonseed oil exports, so it could be used domestically as diesel fuel. China developed processes to crack gasoline from tung oil. India investigated more than 10 different vegetable oils as emergency fuel substitutes. Entire national war efforts ran on plant oil because they had no alternative. In the 1990s, during the Bougainville conflict in Papua New Guinea, islanders faced a complete military blockade. No petroleum imports for years. They kept vehicles and generators running on coconut oil, not as an experiment, as survival. Documented, verified. So it works. It's been proven in labs, in wars, and on hundreds of thousands of miles of road. So why isn't everyone doing it? 3 layers of suppression: economics, regulation, industry action. The global oil and gas exploration and production market is valued at approximately $4.4 trillion. That is the scale of what vegetable oil fuel threatens. Not a product line, an empire. Every time oil prices spike, interest in alternative fuels surges. After World War II, after the 1973 crisis, after 1979, after every price shock in the last 80 years, and every time prices stabilize, the research disappears. Academic literature on vegetable oil fuel between the 1940s and late 1970s is, in the words of researchers who've surveyed it, very sparse. The American Petroleum Institute is the primary trade organization for the U.S. oil and gas industry. Between 2010 and 2020, 6 major fossil fuel companies, including BP, Chevron, Exxon, and Shell, spent $700 million funding academic research programs. Between 2016 and 2020, $257 million was spent on biofuel lobbying alone, not to advance biofuel, to maintain the existing regulatory position, to keep alternatives on the margins. And then there's the regulatory structure. Here, the Environmental Protection Agency classifies any fuel used in on-road vehicles under the Clean Air Act. The original statutory maximum penalty was $25,000 per non-compliant vehicle under Title II. With inflation adjustments, the current penalty schedule is $47,357 per day of violation, $45,268 per non-compliant vehicle. The IRS adds fuel tax obligations on top. Here's the absurdity. You can legally collect waste cooking oil, you can legally filter it, you can legally store it. The moment you put it in your tank and drive on a public road, you are facing federal penalties. Consider Japan. Before 1973, Japan imported 70% of its energy as petroleum. The oil crisis triggered aggressive diversification. Japanese manufacturers, Diesel Kiki and Nippon Denso, produced some of the most compatible injection pumps for vegetable oil fuel. Yet Japan's biofuel policy ultimately favored BioE-TBE. Why? Because it required no new delivery infrastructure. It kept the existing petroleum distribution chain intact. In fiscal year 2019, Japan produced only 14,062,000 liters of biodiesel at 119.1 yen per liter versus 83.3 yen for conventional diesel. The economics were designed to fail. The pattern is consistent across decades and continents. Every time a free, unpatentable fuel source gains traction, the regulatory and economic environment shifts to suppress it. You cannot patent filtering cooking oil. You cannot patent heating it. The raw materials are waste products. The conversion hardware is generic plumbing and automotive components. There is no recurring revenue model. There is no quarterly earnings report. There is no shareholder value. That is why this knowledge was buried. Now you understand the history, the science, and the opposition. If you believe people should know how to keep a diesel engine running when the grid goes down, share this video. Not for metrics, for practical solidarity. Before the step-by-step, here's what you need to know about the real limitations. Cold weather is a problem. Rapeseed oil gels at roughly minus 10 degrees Celsius. Soy gels at 1 degree Celsius. Used cooking oil and animal fats can gel even higher. If you live in a cold climate, winter operation requires diesel blending or a block heater on your WVO tank. Modern common rail diesel engines are incompatible. These electronically controlled systems operate above 25,000 pounds per square inch. They are too sensitive for the viscosity variations in waste oil. This technique works on older mechanical injection systems, not new trucks. Carbon buildup is a long-term maintenance reality. Fuel quality varies batch to batch. Energy density is 9% lower, meaning reduced range. Rubber seals and gaskets may degrade and require Viton replacements. And this is not biodiesel. Biodiesel is produced through transesterification, a different chemical process producing a different fuel. What we are discussing is straight waste vegetable oil, WVO. These are real limitations. Knowing them makes you more capable, not less. Now, with eyes open. Here is how it is done. Source your oil from independent restaurants, not chains. Chains often have grease contracts. Independents will usually give it away. Freshness matters. Rancid oil with high free fatty acid content causes more deposits. Filtration is 3 stages. First, a coarse screen to remove food particles. Second, a 5-micron bag filter. Third, a 1-micron cartridge filter. That final filter costs approximately $4 to $5. Water removal is critical. Let filtered oil settle in a tank for several days. Water sinks to the bottom. Drain from the bottom valve. Water and fuel causes injector damage. The conversion uses a 2-tank system. Your original diesel tank stays for starting and stopping. A secondary tank, mounted in the trunk or truck bed, holds your WVO. A heat exchanger taps into your engine coolant to heat the vegetable oil. Heated fuel lines run to the engine. A switching valve, manual or thermostatic, toggles between tanks. A return line circulates heated oil back to the WVO tank. Operation protocol. Start on diesel. Drive until coolant reaches 160 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Switch to WVO. Before shutdown, switch back to diesel and run for 3 to 5 minutes. This purges vegetable oil from the fuel lines and injectors so your next cold start is clean. Compatible engines use older mechanical injection with Bosch, Diesel Kiki, Nippon Denso, or Zexel pumps. A TG and other conversion specialists publish specific compatibility lists. Maintenance increases, more frequent oil changes, more frequent fuel filter replacements, periodic injector inspection. This is not maintenance-free, but it is fuel-free. Commercial conversion kits from Grease Car, Golden Fuel Systems, or Elsbet range from several hundred to $2,000. Elsbet no longer offers passenger car conversions due to EU regulations, but still converts trucks, tractors, construction equipment, and generators. Modern operators have documented 180,000 miles and beyond on waste vegetable oil without major engine issues. One critical legal note: on-road use violates federal fuel regulations in the United States. Off-road applications, stationary generators, agricultural equipment on private land, and marine engines fall under different regulatory frameworks. Know your jurisdiction. Here is where we land. Rudolf Diesel proved this in 1900. He measured it. He published it. He presented it to the world's engineers. He may have died for it in 1913. The knowledge resurfaced in every crisis. World War II, the oil shocks, Bougainville, and it was suppressed each time. Every diesel engine on Earth is, by original design, a vegetable oil engine. The compression ignition principle never required petroleum. 1 acre of sunflowers produces roughly 100 gallons of oil per year. Soybeans yield approximately 50 gallons. In a grid-down scenario, every restaurant grease trap becomes a fuel depot. The person who knows how to filter restaurant grease through a $4 cartridge filter possesses one of the most strategically valuable pieces of knowledge in existence. A knowledge base validated across 126 years, multiple wars, and hundreds of thousands of miles. This video exists because this knowledge should not be locked behind a century of industry suppression and federal penalties. Share it with someone who needs it. And next time, we go deeper.